Thank you so much for joining us. This is a fireside chat with some amazing people from Alienware. And I am Danielle Rourke. I am a senior higher education strategist at Dell Technologies. And I have the privilege and the honor of getting to talk to all of these amazing people and get their insights. So we're going to start off with introductions, and then we're going to get into some pointed questions. So first of all, Claudina, would you mind introducing yourself?
Sure, Claudina Lopez. I've been with Alienware for 18 years, and I oversee our game publisher and developer program. And I'll do it in Spanish. Claudina López, estoy con Alienware hace 18 años y estoy a cargo del programa de las relaciones con desarrolladores y publicadores de videojuegos.
Thanks, and Eddie?
Sure. Hi, guys. My name is Eddie Goyanes. I've been with Alienware since 2004, and I'm a product marketing manager overseeing our desktop and notebook launches. Saludos a todos. Mi nombre es Eduardo Goyanes. Trabajo en el marketing, ni sé decirlo en español, para todos los desktops y los laptops de Alienware desde 2004, y siento mucho orgullo estar y compartir con ustedes hoy.
Thanks. And Umar?
Hi, my name is Umar Khan. I've been with Alienware since 2006, throwing away garbage up to the point where I am right now, which is our gaming advanced experience planner.
Awesome. Brian?
Yeah, so Brian Desaias, have been with Alienware since 2003, so 18 years. I think Claudina and I started a week apart, I think is what how the story goes. Had many different roles in that time, but now managing social business and social media for Dell Tech.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And Francisco?
Hola, soy Francisco Santana. Llevo 16 años en Alienware. Empecé trabajando en cadenas de abastecimiento y ahora trabajo en product management, en administración de producto. Hi, my name is Francisco Santana. I've been in Alienware for 16 years. I started in supply chain, and now I'm a product planner for the X series.
Thanks. Gerald?
Hi, everybody. My name is Gerald Zapata. I've been with Alienware since 2000, so 21 years. Today, I'm actually in charge of the I'm a student campaigns planner. I've had a whole bunch of different roles throughout that. So super happy to be here. Mucho gusto a todo el mundo. Gracias por esta oportunidad. Me llamo Gerald Zapata y estoy en cargo de todas las campañas en términos para estudiantes. Y tengo con la compañía 21 años, del año 2000. Gracias.
Thanks, Gerald. And last but not least, Ernie.
Hi, I'm Ernie Gonzalez, or Ernesto Gonzalez. A lot of people call me Ernie. I've been with the company for 22 years now, since 1999. So I hold the title as the longest reigning employee. And I currently work as the graphics planner from anywhere from NVIDIA to AMD. I handle all the graphics cards that come into systems. So in Spanish, saludos, soy Ernesto González. Trabajo por Alienware hace 22 años y hago todas las tarjetas de GPUs para todos los sistemas de Alienware.
Fantastic. Thank you all so much. Really appreciate all of your introductions. So Claudina, I'm going to kick it off with you, if you don't mind. Can you give us a brief history of the origins of Alienware and how the Latinx community was involved?
Sure. I mean, it's from the inception, actually. We were founded in 1996 by 2 Cuban Americans in a city of Miami-Dade County called Hialeah. Which their logo or their slogan actually is called the city that progresses, la ciudad que progresa. So that city in particular, lots of Latinx immigration. And then when you think about the years that all of us joined, I would venture out to say that almost more than 85% of the Alienware employee base was Latinx. From various different countries, right? Even on this sort of chat we're on, you've got from Mexico, from Nicaragua, from Argentina, Cuba, some that are first gen, right, Americans, so true Miamians living in Texas, but very much Latinx roots throughout the inception. And I'd say even to today, you see all of us here, we've been here for many, many years and still representing our Latinx roots.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. It's actually just really inspiring. And I love that everyone at Alienware has really held on to that spirit. So Eddie, as a marketing consultant for Alienware, you've often faced, not only faced, but been the face of many initiatives and events. How has your Latinx background played a role in those experiences?
Well, it's been really cool. A lot of times at these events that we attend, we see press and media from all countries around the world. And then oftentimes I've had the pleasure to have an interview with someone who's from Latin America, and they'll ask me to give them the whole product overview in Spanish. And that's always been kind of challenging, but I've always been up for it. And over the years, I've improved the delivery. So it's been great to be able to communicate and touch gamers that are around the globe, in particular in countries where hablamos español todos. So it's always cool to be able to tell our story and have it read by people, gamers all around the world, and spread the story of Alienware.
That's fantastic. I'm curious, has anybody else kind of had that experience where you've been out and about and you've been able to engage in that way?
Yes, I have.
I was the
All the time.
lifecycle manager. No, I was the PLM for gaming for Latin America. I launched Alienware in Peru, Colombia, Argentina, and I also helped launch Alienware in Brazil as well.
So I'm taking that to yes, Francisco. Ernie, did you say two?
I have. I've spoken to several people and been interested in obviously the Latinx and how Alienware relates into it. So definitely done my fair share of speaking about Alienware to the community as well.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I've had a little bit of that too for me previously when I was actually on the retail side. Obviously, we had North America, and then we also had Central and South American countries and retailers. So had to do it in Spanish as well. So for sure, I had to learn words like high performance, alto rendimiento, and all that extra stuff that, we had to get good at, kind of what Eddie was saying about. So I can relate.
Yeah, because even though some of us are Spanish speakers, we do business in English. So
Uh-huh.
when they're asked about these things in Spanish, we're like, wait, how do you say that? So we can then go off. My favorite has always been we're at trade shows and you get that call like, hey, are you on the show floor? Because a Spanish-speaking press member is here and they need someone to come do an interview. I'm like, okay.
Okay.
No, that's wonderful. And I am so appreciative of the fact that that is something that we can do to be able to engage there. So thank you all so much. I'm going to flip over to Umar. Umar, your job as a gaming experience planner sounds amazing. And your LinkedIn profile, and yes, I did stalk you, mentions that you took a job at Alienware at the age of 19 throwing out garbage. And you said that too in your introduction. So garbage to dream job is quite the jump. What advice would you give young Latinx individuals looking to get into the industry?
Yeah, definitely. Growing up in Miami, that has a huge Latinx culture around it. It's its own kind of like bubble in the United States. Growing up, I grew up around a lot of very passionate people where emotions were very raw and kind of like the first thing that comes first when you speak your mind or give an opinion on something. Something that I've learned throughout the time that I felt has helped in my career is take that raw passion of emotion, but hone it back a little bit and think about what you're saying. Try to keep a positive kind of outlook on what you're saying and the people that you work with. It's a lot harder to be nice to people and to try to create positive connections with individuals than it is just to go raw and say what you feel at that first layer inside of you. So take that, try to make it something constructive and positive where you can collaborate with a lot of different people. And I think because of that, that's led to a lot of great connections and a lot of great people that I've ended up working with throughout the years, which has helped elevate me from throwing away garbage and cutting down cardboard boxes to the level that I'm at now, looking at technologies that people won't even see for the next 5 years.
That's amazing and really good advice. Thank you. All right, I'm going to pivot over to Brian. Brian, you've held numerous roles at Alienware, and then just a few months ago, you became the Senior Director of Social Business. So how did your career in gaming prepare you for your current leadership role?
Yeah, I think it's a couple of things. One, when you see the progression of gaming over the last 20 years, it used to be kind of three big things: movies, music, and sports. And gaming over the last 20 years has gotten to be bigger than some of those those forms of entertainment. And so seeing gaming from its infancy, where people had to put together their own computers, right? That's how Alienware got started. It was a couple of guys, as Claudina mentioned, to build computers for their friends, and it started going from there because it was hard to do yourself. And so seeing it from that stage to where we are now, all the growing pains all throughout that have really helped to have a foundation, I think, for many of us here in how to build a business, how to build a market, how to engage where it's needed. And so when I think about that, all of those fundamentals that you learn along the way have really helped me in this regard to get to this role. But I also say, you know, bringing back to our previous conversation really quick about kind of diversity here on this call, where we're Spanish speakers, some of us more than others. But the diversity in countries, right? Just because we all speak Spanish doesn't mean we all have the exact same culture and the exact same beliefs and the exact same everything. That in of itself, having been kind of raised in this from a career perspective, has helped from a global perspective as well, to understand cultural differences, to understand that not everybody's the same, and to appreciate those differences along the way. And so kind of both of those things hand in hand from a gaming side, but also from a cultural perspective, have played a big role for me.
That sounds like really great advice. I don't know if, does anybody want to add anything to that, or have any thoughts that they would like to share around their experiences there as far as their background preparing them for leadership roles? I know we've got a few different leaders on this call.
Yeah, so I hadn't, and Brian, that's a great point. I hadn't realized how even our cultural diversities within the same Spanish speaking sort of group did set us up for that opportunity. So once we did get acquired and part of a much larger global organization, we knew how to approach certain things in terms of, you know, not everyone's going to be the same. So definitely hadn't thought about that, but great point there.
Yeah, that's an excellent point that kind of sets us up for success. I mean, even if you look at this call right now, I'm pretty sure all of us don't have the same origin story of where we're from. And we've had to learn how to deal with the different cultures from these different countries and people with different upbringings, and try to work together in a very collaborative way. There's a lot of different ways that people think, a lot of different ways people believe, a lot of different ways people think things should be executed. And having to be in that collaborative environment with so many differences has definitely set us up for you know, paths towards leadership and driving things within the gaming industry.
Absolutely. And it's amazing. And Umar, I don't know if you want to talk, you have a multicultural background that we've talked about before. I don't know if you want to touch on that just a minute.
Yeah, so I'm kind of an in-betweener of a lot of things. I am half Cuban and I am half Pakistani, but I was born in the United States in Miami. So in a culture that is heavily Hispanic within that city. So I've had to learn how to deal with multiple different things. What is it to be an American growing up in America, and this kind of like image of what America is from the outside of Miami, because Miami is a very different place from the rest of the United States. And, you know, I also had my Islamic background. I had my Cuban background, and my Cuban background is very unique too. It's not necessarily traditional. I'm not going to go over that here. But trying to like find my identity in all that, I feel has allowed me to self-identify as who I am, as Umar, right? And that's a celebration of all these different cultures, right? And trying to make them mingle and kind of like a peaceful coexistence. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like how that multiculturalness has kind of like impacted who I am and the kind of story I want to leave on the world.
That's wonderful. And it's so unique too. It's just a great perspective to share. Thanks, Umar. So I'm going to go back a little bit. Brian, when you mentioned, you mentioned pain, it actually made me think of something else. And this is actually a question for Francisco. So Francisco, you've been a product manager for the majority of your career. And we all know that there's some current struggles in almost every supply chain on the planet right now. So what keeps you motivated and gives you strength to keep doing your best work, even in those tough times?
Well, what keeps me motivated is the same thing that keeps motivated everyone in this call is the brand. We all saw this brand from the beginning, and we built the brand, and we are really, really passionate about this brand. So I can say that almost like everyone would agree. Every time we hit like any issue or things like that, we try to make the best out of it because we love this brand so much that we put our best effort every single day just to make it the best gaming brand in the world. So that's basic. That's my major motivation.
Yeah,
There's some issues with supply chain worldwide, but the brand needs to be the best brand no matter what.
Yeah, if you think about it, all of us have put in more than a decade into Alienware, right? And think about how old we might be. You don't know our ages, but just, you could guess plus or minus, right, what our ages are. And more than a decade to this brand, we've seen it go from a small business to this worldwide brand that touches everybody. And along the way, I'm very grateful for all the opportunities and all the lessons across the way. And there's ups and downs, but when you see something grow and you put time into it day in and day out, it gives you strength to persevere even during the toughest times. I've been grateful to have awesome leaders along the way. As long as you keep trying and as long as you do the things that you enjoy, when you do the things you enjoy, you'll do great at it because it's something that you like to do. I mean, it's kind of obvious. You hear that all the time. It's kind of cliche, but it's real. It's true. And I think many of you guys can speak to that as well, right? The things that you love to do are the ones that you do the best, probably. I'm sure you guys can share a story in that vein.
Yeah, look, everybody here in this panel, every time I get to talk to them, I always kind of relate to them, and I can say we are kind of Alienware family. Above and beyond building the brand, we also had the opportunity to kind of get to know each other, right? We have learned a little bit about our families, our significant others. So while we don't know it all, we know a little bit about everybody's here kind of significant importance outside of Alienware, but also how the Alienware played a huge role in building all of us, both from a career perspective, but also personally. So I think it's a really, really strong connection that we have here.
Yeah, I'd say, without touching upon, the age portion, but we all grew up together, right? In terms of we were starting in our careers, where we're at today, we're definitely not the same individuals, but we share that bond of Alienware, right? And I think in certain instances, at least, I don't have any kids, but sometimes I'm like, it feels like a child, right? You've seen it grow, you're seeing it flourish. And that's why I feel sometimes we're very, very passionate.
Yeah, I'd say we're also very lucky as well that, look, we got in on the Alienware brand super early, and we were able to put our imprint, all of us, in our own different ways on building that brand. And that's not an opportunity that everybody gets. I know everybody on this call is super appreciative of that opportunity to be able to do it. And look, we get to talk gaming every single day. Like, there's a lot worse things to be talking about every single day than gaming, no matter what aspect it's from. And so, so Eddie talked about the ups and downs. For sure, this is still a business and all that kind of stuff. But from a brand and from a passion perspective, I'll speak for myself. You can't beat that.
Yeah. And it's one of the few opportunities, or at least was at that point in Miami, to be able to be in tech, right? Miami's not necessarily known for being a tech hub, the tourism, finance for Latin America. So it was a unique opportunity, and especially for folks that are gamers on this, panel. And I say that because I dabble. I'm nowhere near as a hardcore gamer as the rest that are on this call. But for folks that are into gaming, being able to come into a tech company, nonetheless a gaming tech company in Miami, that was such a rare occurrence.
Absolutely. Great insights.
Yeah, when I started, I just needed a job. I was in undergrad and I just needed a job. A friend of mine worked at Alienware and I knew how to build computers and I played games. And it was a part-time job. It was my first real job. I interviewed, 3 rounds of interviews. And and I made it. And I was just working in sales for a special line of brand called ALX, but then I got into marketing, thanks to some people on this call, actually. And I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, really? I've studied engineering. What am I doing going into marketing? That was awkward. But sometimes if you let yourself do things that make you feel a little uncomfortable, that's where, and it's cliche again, just like delivering cliches, but when you let yourself go into the uncomfortable zone, you learn a little bit. And I liked it. I liked that feeling of not knowing what's going on and then learning something. So one of the things that I read from different speakers on the web and stuff is they tell you to not always be the smartest person in the room. And I think about that sometimes when I'm on different calls is, you know, who here is smarter than me that I can learn something from. So as long as you're around people who are pushing you to do better, that'll allow you to learn, that'll allow you to grow, and you'll discover skills that you may not have been aware of before that. So for me, it's been a very surprising journey the whole way, and I'm incredibly grateful for that.
Yeah, we're fortunate we're in a business or a brand that is not monotonous. It changes every single day. You get a new challenge, and that keeps us really on our toes. And like Eddie said, it's very exciting to do this type of work.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for that really engaging conversation. It re-energizes me too. So thanks. So I wanted to, you know, we've talked a little bit about family and passion and, you know, just being around people that you know care and that support you. So Gerald, I actually wanted to ask you something. I saw in your featured quote on the Alienware Twitter for Hispanic Heritage Month. Yes, I stalked you too. That you said, I specifically thank my parents for sharing and ensuring I remember about our history, hard work, where we come from, and blessings. That's powerful. So I was wondering, can you elaborate on how your Latinx background has helped you in your career?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, my parents left it all when they decided to come over here as immigrants. Honestly, we had nothing. We had no family. We had nowhere to go. Leaving it all behind, I was just 2 years old. So with faith, a lot of hard work, a lot of support from one another, my parents were able to get a job and eventually got ourselves into a very, very, very small apartment. You know, so we started living in this small apartment, and they basically gave me the opportunity of a lifetime, right? Which is to live here, be a U.S. citizen, and be part of this great, you know, American dream, if you want to think of it that way, right? So I learned the language. I grew up here, and I found all my first job in restaurants, and it was all important. Well, making sure that we kept our cultural values, that we remain humble and grateful for everything we had. And to me, that has always been fundamental, and it's what led to eventually going to what I considered the beginnings of my career. This was a video game store company that had quite a few, still exist today, where I started kind of working on the tech gaming consumer side of it. And thanks to my Latin roots, they had multiple stores. And, you know, in Miami being a really tourist area, right? We have people from Central South America and all other places. I eventually became a versatile employee where I was able to work in areas where there was significant tourists, being able to speak fluently English, Spanish, some Italian, and even learn some Portuguese on the way. I don't speak down fluently, but Italian I do. So, you know, that was important to me. At Alienware, gosh, before being acquired by Dell at Alienware, right? I guess knowing and having Hispanic understanding the culture was really key for me, and it helped me out to become and launch what is today the call center in Costa Rica, right? And understanding both English and Spanish was really important. So I think those two opportunities were really good examples of one, remaining humble, understanding everything about the blessings, grateful, and most importantly, right, the fact that I kept my cultural background and history helped me out significantly as my career started to kind of take off.
Absolutely. That is, you know, I was a little worried that you had reached your peak with that quote as far as being inspiring, but you didn't. You took it another level. So thanks for that, Gerald.
No, thank you.
Does anybody else want to add in like a little bit of, you know, how their Latinx culture and roots and backgrounds, you know, have really affected them? Does anybody want to share anything else?
Well, for me,
No, go back.
when I work in Latin America. Although, well, my background is Mexican and Cuban, selling computers and interacting with people in different parts of Latin America is really different, like from Argentina or Peru, Colombia, Central America. People have different cultures and different, although we all speak Spanish, we're all different. But living in Miami, you learn all those differences because this is a multicultural city. So that really helped me out when I started engaging with different salespeople and with different people in the different regions. So it's very important to speak two languages. And if you live in Miami, it's very important to understand the Latin culture and to be proud of it. So in Miami, we all keep one Latin culture, no matter where you're from. And it's something that we are all very proud of.
Yeah, pivoting off that, I think what Francisco, if you heard me call him Paco, we call him Paco, is the same kind of thing, right? Is we all have, somebody mentioned different origin stories, you know. Gerald, your story is amazing. I think, you know, for me, it's grandparents immigrating from Cuba, sending their kids over before they even came over, not knowing where they're going to land, and to just have that faith, stay humble in what you have and what you are trying to do, and just have faith that if you continue to move forward and you continue to follow what you want to go do, you'll get there. And I think it's just that faith that things are going to turn out the right way. For me and my background and my family background, that still continues to drive that. Hey, there's going to be good and bad, but have faith that it's going to turn out the way you want it to.
Absolutely. Thank you all for sharing. So, Ernie, we haven't heard a whole lot from you, so I wanted to ask you a specific question.
Okay.
You've been with Alienware for 22 years. Congratulations. That's amazing. You have close ties, obviously, with the original founding crew. What are some of the ways that Alienware has stayed connected to its roots, and what do you specifically see for the future?
Yeah. So for me, Alienware is my family, right? Like, not a lot of people know this, but my uncle is one of the founders that started Alienware, and I've been involved since at a very young age. I've just always known Alienware since I grew up. That was just something I've always carried, and to this day, it's kind of like my legacy. Like, I still want to make sure my family is involved in Alienware, and there's still something of the Gonzalez name pushing around in the Alienware as some and infiltrated in there as well. And it's not only Nelson Gonzalez, it was also Alex Aguila as well. They were best friends. And like I said, I saw that ever since I was a little kid. I saw it since I was growing up. They were building models together. Always had an idea of building computers and kind of involved me in that as well. So to me, Alienware is more of a family than it is a business. I've been with these people since before I could even remember. And the biggest thing to me is the passion everybody brings along with them. You meet a variety of people and everybody drives, and it doesn't matter what background they're from. I've met people from Europe, from everywhere, from Asia, from just about any country. And the drive is still the same. They want to be number one. They want the brand to succeed, and they'll do just about anything to get it there, right? And the passion within all these people is very, very influential. So it kind of like spreads around like a virus almost. Like anything all these people touch kind of makes you want to work just as hard. And I think that to me is what keeps Alienware going. And the future is the people, right? I think the people that we have inside this company and the way we work together, and it's not like anybody else. It's not like any other company. I think we're just a small group of people that interact and weave well together. And the new life that comes in also weaves in very well. So it's kind of like this loop of like a loop cycle of talent that just keeps coming in and out, and it's quite nice to see, right? So I think the future is the people, and I think the more we keep going, you'll just see better and better products, and just the strive to be number one.
That's really exciting. Does anybody else have anything that they'd want to share about what they see the future looking like?
Number one.
Yeah.
I'm not going to comment because I know. So I'll keep that to myself.
Yeah, you can't be leaking any product stories, Umar. So
I
think though, I mean, in the vein of what Ernie said, right? You have a lot of us that have been here for a long time. There are though new folks as well, and new, not necessarily like just yesterday, but you know, some people 2 years, 5 years, and I do feel that it speaks to the power of the brand and what was created, what was established, and what was founded, right? Yes, you have some of the old blood here, but those new ideas coming in, the new cultural perspectives they can bring, right? Because like we were saying, most of us originally were just exposed to Latin American culture, Latinx culture, right? Caribbean culture. But now the fact that we've got peers in Europe, peers in Asia, right? That's added also as a personal growth perspective. But from a brand perspective, and that contagious passion, that's the key, right? Like it's on us, and that's kind of like the responsibility we have as the OGs, right? On us to kind of give that sort of passion and make it contagious, so the new folks as well can you know, pick it up and continue to run with us. Because at the end of the day, you know, it like Ernie said, it's all about the people. Sure, the products will be there, the tech is going to be there, but what's made us unique is who's been working on them. And I'm happy to be part of that history.
Yeah,
you bring
I
up a great
say,
point. Go ahead, Gerald.
go ahead, Eddie.
No, I was just gonna
Go
say
for it,
that
man.
she brings up a great point. Like many of us come from families who, you know, were immigrants to this country, so we were new, so we were different, and we're challenged by you know, different cultures. But we've been able to grow in this career, engaging with people of all kinds of cultures. And that's also been a great opportunity for us that is something to be grateful for, right? We're able to get to know how people talk business, how people talk technology, how people talk about their own lives and their own culture. So it's been it's been great for our careers and our overall learning, but it's also been a great human experience just connecting with all kinds of individuals. So definitely encourage that kind of opportunity for anybody that can find one for themselves if they want to go that direction.
Yeah, I mean, look, I share a lot of the similar point of views. Ultimately, people, number one, right on. The other thing that I was going to say that goes along the lines of what Eddie was saying, the brand stands for something, right? And though at first we were talking about just high performance and making sure that we're the best brand in the world, which fortunately we continue to do a pretty good job at that, and we intend to continue. It's also important about diversification, the cultural values, inclusivity, right? So we know that it won't just be the enclosed perspective if we want to continue to be and have a connection or a touch on those passion points for the generations to come, right? So I think it's really important for us to make sure that naturally or genuinely, right, we're conveying that message, what we really stand for. So I think that's going to be key. And fortunately, I'd say we put a lot of effort, a lot of thought, a lot of heart into it.
Absolutely. I feel the heart. I hope everybody else watching can feel the heart too, because it's totally there. So, okay, we've only got a few minutes left. So I wanted to jump into some fun questions too. So this first one's going to be a two-part. So the first part is there a game that you particularly identified with as a Latinx person? And then the second part is, who's your favorite Latinx video game character? So I don't know if anybody already has their answers in their head.
Well, Latinx will be FIFA because that's soccer and that's the #1 sport. So every single trade show I went in Latin America, they had a huge stadium for FIFA there and a huge tournament. So that would be something that I would say it's one game that is really played along in the entire continent in Latin America. I don't know what other game.
Man, yeah, the only person that comes to mind is Vega from Street Fighter, because you know,
Oh yeah,
is from Spain. But I don't think about the game character as what country they're. Well, not too much.
I know,
No.
that's what I was gonna say. I know, like when you know, we're kind of seeing the questions, it's hard, right? Because I think being Latinx is just a part of our personalities, right? So it's one of many things that contribute. So I don't know if that'd be just one of the attributes that when I'm looking to play a game would stand out. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's all about the storyline more so than where the character is from for me.
Yeah. I mean, my grandmother's last name was Vega, so for me that's an easy question to fire.
You know,
I feel
go
like I was gonna say, I feel like, I don't have a specific Latinx game or character. What comes to mind though is if I think about just gaming and people playing games, it's really like this great equalizer, right? Because you're playing characters, and yes, there might be different nationalities and backgrounds in your characters, but everybody around the world can play the same character, right? Think Halo, everybody's Master Chief, right? Or some kind of Spartan, just as an example. It doesn't matter who's behind the mask, if you will, right? So there are definitely, you want to have representation in video games, but there's this notion of just being equal as you're playing video games as a person internationally in whatever country you're in, but also the games themselves. Somebody, I can't remember who said it, we're talking there, but talks about the storylines. Like, I think that's what's key. And that's what interests me about gaming more than, hey, this person from here, or that kind of cultural representation.
Well, I know two games that they have like really Latin characters. One, the Guacamole, that's like about Mexican wrestlers. And then in WWE, what was that Mexican wrestler that was there? I used to play with him.
In WWE,
Eddie Guerrero, Latino Heat.
Yeah, the Latino Heat.
He's the king.
Yeah, he's the greatest of all time.
Yep.
That's
Mafia
amazing.
2 was
Really
my
well said.
jam, though.
for me, it's an interesting, and you might think it's funny. So, like, look, as a kid, I enjoy playing outdoor games a lot, and it was about intensity, fast pace, high fun levels. So when I think of what can I relate to when I'm playing a game, it's like Brian was saying, equalizing or kind of getting into my moment, right? Where I think I kind of distressing, and it's a Street Fighter. I love Street Fighter, and it's like, oh my God, it's like in and out and fighting and enjoying. I think it was one of the first games when you were actually able to compete one another instead of just kind of leveling up and who gets the highest scores, if you want to think of it that way. And to me, that has related to me, and I still like it. I still love it. To this date, Street Fighter 5.
Yeah, and for me, looking at game characters that are relatable, I think, the mention that Brian had made that you could be anybody, right? Like, I definitely feel that as I play different games, like, I don't really identify with any specific character. It's more so, what journey am I going to go on? But there were times where I had like moments where I could connect with a character, kind of like from a background point of view. I think from a more serious note, probably like James Vega from the Mass Effect series. He was like a Latin character, but he didn't necessarily do what they do in like media, where like the guy will say something in Spanish and then he'll translate it to English. He'll be like, "Oh, watch out, there's a gato," and then that means cat. You know how they always do that translating thing when they do things for like English media. He was just like a straight up like Hispanic character in the future. And from a more comedic standpoint, even though this character is revealed to be Caucasian in the story, was Fernando from Grand Theft Auto, what was it, Grand Theft Auto 3? He was the guy that ran the romance radio station. And the way that he spoke reminded me, those of you from Miami probably remember Sol 95 Romance. Like, that's basically like Fernando's character. Like DJ from that. Yeah, so like I really like that character. I was like, bro, it's like I'm back in Miami.
That's so cool. So cool.
That's fantastic. Thank you all for sharing. So, okay, last question, lightning round. So I want to like go through everybody. If you were to give only one word of advice, and I know one word answers are really hard, but one word of advice or guidance to the community members that are watching, what would that one word be? And so I'm just going to go on across my screen. So Umar, you're first on my screen.
Stay chill. Stay calm. People will test your beliefs a lot. Stay calm and try to have a very coherent argument with people without losing it. Burning bridges never helps.
Good advice. Claudina.
Well, you said one word, and one word comes to mind: fearless, right? Don't be afraid of failure. Just take the plunge. I mean, at the end of the day, you made a mistake. Doesn't matter. So fearlessness.
Awesome. Gerald.
Be yourself on anything and everything you do. Remember your values and where you come from. Be yourself.
That's great. Ernie.
Difference. It's okay to be different. It's okay to be different, have different opinions, look at things a different outlook. That's okay. Be yourself, express how you feel, and back up what you believe.
Excellent. Francisco. Or Paco, sorry,
Perseverance.
excuse me.
Oh, that's fine. Perseverance. When I started working in Alienware, the guys in supply chain told me that I used to drive the bus and I ran everyone over with the bus. But that's because I always kept my goals and I kept pushing until I got what I wanted. So
That's great. Eddie.
Yeah. So if you're young and getting into the business, working hard and grinding at first is something you have to go through, and it'll help you learn. But more importantly, once you jump that hurdle, figure out how to work more intelligently or work smarter than not always working harder and harder.
That's good advice. Brian, to wrap us up.
The word I'd say is humble. Stay humble and continue to learn. Don't think you've ever gotten to a point and you're done. So just stay humble and continue to move forward.
Great advice. Thank you all so much for spending time with us today, sharing your insights, your background, your experience with everyone else in the Latinx community and everyone who's watching this stream with Latinx in Gaming. Really appreciate your time and your input. And thank you all so much for making such an excellent brand for all of us to game